to help improve on Ghana's ranking as second most peaceful country in Africa after Mauritius.
Parts of Cape Coast and Accra flooded.
The aged in our society giving attention on UN International Day for Older Persons.
And Guinea's military junta leader sworn in as interim president. This is news coming to you live on GBC News and GTV. Good evening, I'm Siyoko Kwakuchre.
Good evening, I am Shelley and Robin Filpon translates the news into sign language. President Akufo-Addo has charged the police to ensure that Ghana improves upon the 2020 rankings by the Global Peace Index, which adjudged the country as the second most peaceful country in Africa after Mauritius.
For the president, maintaining peace and security is not the sole responsibility of the police, but all Ghanaians. Nana Akufo-Addo was speaking at the police depot in Accra when he commissioned 129 police officers.
They are fresh out of the academy in the best shapes of their lives. These police officers have survived the various academic and security disciplines to join the ranks of leadership of the Ghana Police Service. There are 101 males and 28 females. Deputy Superintendent Ernest Kofi emerged the overall best cadet officer. Deputy Superintendent Emmanuel Say for the Commandant Special Award. Best in Command and Drill went to Deputy Superintendent Alison Raji Atuluk. The Marksman Award was earned by Deputy Superintendent Richard Lazarus Akoli. Their commissioning comes at a time that the peace of the country is being threatened at the speed of armed robbery, ritual murders and cyber crimes. Mindful of this, the government has since 2017 rolled out several measures to beef up security across the country with the acquisition of 560 vehicles, 22 light armored vehicles for the FPUs, 11,000 CCTVs, 4,500 fragmental garments and 200 motorbikes for community policing. Also, 3 alligator silver boats have been procured for the Marine Police to join hands with their counterpart from the Navy to protect offshore oil and gas installations. President Akufo-Addo announced that the police will receive 3 helicopters in November this year.
The construction of 320 housing units of the National Police Training School is at an advanced stage of completion. Work is ongoing on the construction of a barracks at Kwabenya to replace the one adjacent to the DVLA 37, which is not fit for purpose. A new mechanical workshop for the service is also being constructed at Boshe near Hacho. In addition to the yearly increments of salaries for all police personnel, government has placed them, like the other members of the security services, under the Cap 30 pension scheme. Clearance has been given for the police service to recruit some 5,000 more personnel to augment the manpower base of the service in a bid to meet the recommended UN police-civilian ratio of 1 to 500.
The Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces charged the police to be professional as they discharge their duties.
I want to assure Ghanaians that the police service, and indeed all the other security services, are determined to deal decisively with the threats posed by dangerous criminals and criminal syndicates. We can help them succeed in this endeavor if we urge the police and the other security services on and give them as much support and cooperation in the fight as we can. Government, in recognition of the difficulties and dangers confronting police personnel in the discharge of their duties, remains committed to resourcing the service by the provision of adequate personnel and logistics to enable them deliver on their mandate.
The acting IGP, Dr. George Ekufudampare, was commended by the President for his sterling performance and assured him of soon getting approval to become the 23rd IGP of the police service. Edward Nyakun, reporting for GBC News.
Part of Accra got flooded again following a downpour between Thursday night and Friday dawn. Areas such as Kaneshi, First Light, Abosokai, Adabraka Sahara and Mamprobi were inundated.
Between the night of Thursday, September 30, and the dawn of Friday, October 1, parts of Accra got swamped. Areas such as Adabraka Sahara, Abosokai, and Kaneshi First Light were flooded, causing heavy vehicular traffic in different parts of the capital city. Some commuters had to trek on foot due to the congestion. Drivers driving towards the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, for instance, had a difficult time using the road as sections of the road were flooded. The frontage of shops at Abosokai were also inundated. Those affected in the area claim that the current construction work at the Obechebi roundabout contributed to the flooding. The Ghana Meteorological Agency has earlier given indications that there will be rains in some parts of the country today. According to GMET, isolated rains are expected in the evening across the country.
Also, floods have rendered some residents of some communities in Cape Coast homeless. The floods were caused by torrential rains last night. The affected communities include Pedu, Abra New Site and University of Cape Coast Police Station. As a result of the situation, some schools in the Cape Coast metropolis have called off academic work. Our Central Regional Correspondent Kofi Chiamapobi has toured some of the affected areas and updated us in an earlier bulletin.
Talking to some of the residents, some of them believe that indeed people have built on waterways. And as you can see from the footage, most people that went to their rooms, their things costing millions of Ghana cedis were submerged and were destroyed in the floods. According to them, they are alleged that some people have built on waterways, and the drains that even carry the water is too small. So there's a need for them to dredge and build more stronger drainages that can carry the water. So it is something that has really affected the Cape Coast, some communities, especially people living in other new towns and then other new sites and other areas. And people, residents here, are still counting them.
The United Nations has set aside October 1 as International Day of Older Persons. It is a call to provide the needed legislative framework and support for older persons in our society. This year is the 76th anniversary of the United Nations and the 31st anniversary of the International Day of Older Persons.
To care for those who cared for us is one of the highest honors. The best classroom in the world is at the feet of elderly persons. A retired husband is a wife's full-time job. The best tunes are played on the oldest fiddles. Parents didn't leave you when you were young, so don't leave them when they are also old. These are some of life's quotes about the elderly, reminding us to honor the elderly in our communities and homes. From research on older persons in Ghana, there is a high prevalence of chronic medical conditions such as hypertension, along with significant incidents of falls and mobility disorders. Isolation and neglect are also on the rise as a result of increasing migration among the youth in search of greener pastures. COVID-19 has also exacerbated social isolation among older persons, making them more vulnerable. There are also recommendations from government and stakeholders to explore the role of policies and legal frameworks to ensure that older persons are safe while entreating the youth to pay attention to older persons and offer them the needed support to enjoy what's left of their lives.
The Center for Aging Studies continues to add its voice to the voices of other stakeholders to make an appeal to the Ghana government and Parliament to pay urgent attention to the Aged Persons Bill and expedite its passage into law. The legislation will provide the principal guidelines to the holistic care of older persons.
As the world celebrates older persons, many are calling for an end to tagging older persons as witches and rather create a supportive system and care for them both in homes and communities. For GBC News, Mavis Ofe Champong reporting.
Meanwhile, in an earlier interview, a senior lecturer at the Department of Social Work and Center for Aging Studies of the University of Ghana, Dr. Akosia Juman, said the extended family should be commended for supporting the older generation. She said society needs to address the caregiving needs and the health of older persons. Dr. Juman advised the government to employ geriatricians to cater for the health needs of older persons. She spoke via Zoom.
If you come to the system as a whole, we haven't done much because as I speak with you, we don't have any policies in place that, binds stakeholders to take care of older persons. What we have is just on paper and it hasn't been implemented, though it's a bill now. We are yet to see the implementation, and when it comes, we'll be able to do more than we are doing currently. Now, if you take health, for example, they need care as far as health is concerned. If you come to our side, Ghana, you realize that we have 3 models of health care. And these 3, the one that operates mostly are the preventive and then the diagnostic or the medical model. For the social model, it's not working too much in our system because we think that when someone is sick, then it's just medication. But most of the times it goes beyond medication. Sometimes just talking to the person who is sick, can heal the person. And when it comes to health, older persons don't have their own hospital or doctors, especially that takes care of them. We have that for children. Pediatricians, they take care of children. Older persons are supposed to be taken care of by geriatricians. But we
You're still watching News Alive on GBC News, your news and governance channel. The deadline for occupants of the Jubilee refugee camp to quit elapsed yesterday, Thursday, September 30, 2021. However, many of the occupants are still living at the camp. Among them are about 350 refugees referred to as persons of interest to the Ghana Refugee Board. The acting executive director of the Refugee Board, Mr. Tete Paddy, in an interview said some will be relocated to a camp in the Western region. He said the borders will also be opened for those who want to return to their home countries. He also admitted that there has been an extension to the deadline for demolition.
There's been an extension to that deadline. The demolition is not going to take place immediately. The government has asked that the demolition does not take place immediately. So we will also have the opportunity to relocate those who are of concern to another camp. With respect to the 350 households, the Ghana Refugee Board has put measures in place to engage them. We are arranging to take them, those of them who would want to be relocated, to be moved to one of our camps in the Western region. Well, we are under obligation to ensure that refugees are taken care of and are provided shelter if they require it. Apart from that, we have learned lessons from the Bureau in the way programs and projects are implemented, and we're putting measures in place to make sure that we don't have this sort of situation again. Again, we're not creating a new camp for them. It's an already existing camp, and we're simply moving them there.
the launch of a 3-year project to tackle forced and child labor in cocoa growing and mining communities, dubbed Yemofranunti, has taken place in Accra. Per the outlook of the project, the government institutions will be strengthened to identify, monitor, prevent and address the incidence of forced and child labor in the country. It will be implemented by the Rainforest Alliance with funding from the Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation. A report by Sarah Ofori.
Research from UNICEF and the International Labour Organization shows that in recent times, the number of children involved in child labour, especially between the ages of 5 and 11 years, has risen. 70% of these children are found in the agriculture sector. Hence, in many cocoa growing and mining communities in Ghana, these children are usually school dropouts. In some cases, parents employ their children as farmhands to run their farms. These children are said to earn some money and tend to ignore their education, and especially to the tertiary level. In many of these communities, it is unclear what forced or child labor is. To effectively engage parents in tackling this menace, the Rainforest Alliance, with funding from the Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation, in collaboration with Solidaridad, is implementing the 3-year project to, among other things, increase awareness of forced and child labor. The senior project manager, Ms. Joyce Poku Mabua, said the projects will strengthen government institutions to identify, monitor, prevent and address forced and child labor in the country.
The root causes of forced and child labor are complex, they are interrelated, and they are systemic. It is therefore one that requires the collaborative efforts of government and government agencies, companies in cocoa and gold, civil society organizations, even the perpetrators themselves, victims themselves, and each and every one of us here.
Norway's ambassador, Ms. Ingrid Molstad, said tackling forced and child labor is key to promoting decent work practices in cocoa and gold mining industries.
The phenomenon of child labor and forced labor is sadly on the increase globally, as we have heard. And economic hardship in a COVID-19 era exacerbates the situation for the most vulnerable. These same reasons made Norway decide in 2020 to prioritize working with these topics under the umbrella that is often referred to as combating modern slavery.
The Commissioner of the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Mr. Joseph Whittle, said culture or traditions should not justify forced or child labor in the country. The expected outcome is to reduce forced or child labor in its worst form in the cocoa and gold supply chains in the country and its associated risk to the barest minimum. It will also ensure the human rights and well-being of the child. Sarah for GBC News, Accra.
The Director of Communication of the New Patriotic Party, Mr. Yao Boabinga Samoa, has advised members of the party to refrain from any form of violence that will undermine the country's peace. He said the Akufo-Addo government is keen on ensuring utmost peace and security in the country and will ensure that any person who flouts the law are dealt with, irrespective of party affiliation. Mr. Yao Boabinga Samoa made the statement during a news conference in Accra.
Even before the ink on the Jubilee report is dry, we have reports of NEDCO offices in Tamale being vandalized and staff attacked. The NEDCO attack shows that the approach of violence to issue resolution is not confined to political matters. It would appear to be the norm as far as some sections of our society are concerned. In any event, the NPP would like to see its members and sympathizers, as well as the youth, move away from violence as a tool of participation and to adopt dialogue and interaction. The party has structures from community level right up to national level. Having encouraged all assembly members of all shades of opinion to come together and proactively engage the nominees for MMDCE, we find it unacceptable that anybody who believes in and identifies with our party will condone violence in the confirmation process. Of course, we accept that a few persons nominees may be entirely rejected, but we cannot accept that a resolution is a resort to violence. Furthermore, we support the police to ensure swift action in incidents of mob destruction of property and physical attack in order to terminate violence as a method of resolution of public grievances. The MPP is ready to partner well-meaning citizens to expand spaces for dialogue in the democracy that we are building.
A joint security task force has shut a mining site illegally operating in the Birim North district of the Eastern region and arrested 7 of the miners engaged in the activities. 19 Shamfan machines and other mining equipment used in the operations were also destroyed. A Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources in charge of mines, Mr. George Mrekuduka, led the unannounced swoop in the region.
Following up on the charge to nip illegal mining activities in the Bad to save generations unborn, a combined team of West African nationals work here at the Birim North mining site. The monitoring tour of the Operation Hot Task Force destroyed equipment found on site. The task force revealed that managers of this particular mining site had been warned to stop their illegal operations on several occasions, with the attendant accidents and loss of lives recorded at the site. The 7 apprehended at the mining site are to be prosecuted to serve as a deterrent to others. A Minister for Lands and Natural Resources in charge of mines, Mr. George Mrekuduka, was saddened at the hard-heartedness of activities of the miners and the unpatriotic Ghanaians who collaborate with foreigners to destroy the environment.
Now, if you see behind me, the Pra River has been diverted and hugely polluted. This is a warning to Ghanaians, and I believe Ghanaians must be alert now. Everybody, we cannot fight the battle alone. It's not an event, it's a process. All hands must be on deck to fight this illegal mining going on, especially the pollution of our river bodies.
Mr. Mrekuduka urged all Ghanaians to come on board to help fight the illegality, as government cannot do so alone. He said the crackdown on illegal mining will continue until the government is satisfied with the state of the water bodies and recovery of degraded forest reserves.
In the first series of our citizen journalism, a teacher from the Oti region, Mr. Ernest Adade, is sending an SOS to the government and charity organizations on behalf of teachers and pupils of Abuabu DA Primary School for assistance. The appeal is for help to put their school building in top condition for effective teaching and learning. Their concern is that in its current state, the future leaders are being denied their rights as enshrined in the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child.
Bowure Abuabo is a predominantly farming community in the Biapia district of the Oti region. Here, for many years, the children have had to continue with their junior high school education in some neighboring communities due to the lack of a school building. The only primary school in the area is also in a very deplorable state. Ms. Seraphine Vuedi is a teacher in the school. She says due to the poor state of the building, teachers are unwilling to accept postings to the school upon first sight, compelling the few teachers available to combine 2 or more classes in one room. She believes that if a proper school building is provided, teaching and learning would be effective.
It's actually sacking teachers from coming here. Actually, we were 6 posted here. Looking at the building, the classroom structure, it has sacked most of our colleagues. So I am the only person present here. Right now, we are only 3 teachers, including the head teacher over here. So when they help us with the classroom blocks, I think teaching and learning can go on effectively.
The assembly member of the area, Madame Patience Dadibor, is not happy with the situation. She says several attempts to get the attention of the district assembly for assistance have not been successful.
Where we are accommodating the children now, in fact, it was 2 classroom block built by the community for the KG, and that was where we are accommodating the children, and it is affecting their learning.
She is therefore calling on the government, charity organizations and well-meaning persons for assistance.
It's GTP,
the name behind authentic and original Ghanaian textile prints,
and West Africa's leading print and textile brand.
Step out in style in any GTP fabric.
Classy, head-turning, elegant, snazzy.
GBC newscasters are cloaked by GTP.
The outfits are designed by Joanna Fashions, Nyaniba Estates, B Vogue and Designs, Kaswa,
and Alan David Collections, Havana in Accra.
Now please stay.